wait for 1 or 2 minutes and then I'll begin. We'll wait for 2 more minutes. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. We'll begin with Act 1, Scene 3. Now, in this scene, we again shift to Venice from Belmont. Act 1, Scene 2, we were in Belmont. Now, again, we shift to Venice. A serious business things are happening in this place. Venice, a public place. Now, what is the setting of this scene, or where are the speakers right now? They are at a public place in Venice. These are common questions that that are asked with the reference to the context. Who all are there in the scene? Bassanio and Shylock are there in the beginning of the scene for now. Let's see. Shylock, 3,000 ducats. Well, Shylock says, you want currency or ducats, Venetian gold coins, that is 3,000 in number, 3,000 ducats. So ducats means Venetian gold coins. They can ask you the meaning. Bassanio, sir, for 3 months. Bassanio says, and I need it for a period of 3 months. So 3,000 ducats for 3 months. Shylock, for 3 months. Well, okay. He says, so you want it for 3 months. He's reconsidering whatever is being told to him. He's being, he's taking his time to think and analyze the situation. Bassanio, for the which, as I told you, Antonio shall be bound. And Bassanio says, and as I told you that this Antonio, that is Bassanio's best friend, is going to be a guarantor, or he is going to act as a surety. Shylock, Antonio shall be bound. Well, so he's again reconsidering it. He's thinking, because Antonio is the name which would trigger his mind. He would like to take the opportunity. Bassanio, may you stead me? May you stead me means will you help me? Stead means help. Will you pleasure me means will you oblige me by lending me money? Shall I know your answer? He says, please let me know whether you'll oblige me or not. 3,000 ducats for 3 months and Antonio bound. Again reconsidering it. Bassanio, your answer to that. Now he says, you please give me your answer to that now. Shylock, Antonio is a good man. He says, well, Antonio is a good man. Now when he says Antonio is a good man, he intends to say in the, wealthy manner, that he is a wealthy person. But Bassanio says, have you heard any imputation to the contrary? Now Bassanio thinks that he is saying that maybe he is taking in a good behavior wise. So he says, Have you heard any imputation means any allegation or any claim to the contrary means the other way around? Have you heard that he's not a good man? Shylock. Oh, no. He says, no. My meaning in saying he's a good man. Now, he just elaborates that when I say that he's a good man, I intend to say that he is sufficient. He's sufficient means he has ample amount of money. He's financially wealthy and he's adequate to be a surety for 3,000 ducats. So, he's an adequate guarantor or surety. Yet his means are in supposition. But he says, but right now his business is at risk. He hath an argosy bound to Tripolis. You should know which all places his argosy means ships have gone. So ships are bound to Tripolis. One is at Tripolis, another to the Indies. Indies is again a place. And I understand, moreover, upon the Rialto, he hath a third at Mexico. And he's saying that I have understood or I have heard at the Rialto that there is the third ship at Mexico, fourth which is going towards England, and other ventures he had squandered abroad. And there are other ships of him which have gone to different small places of the world. Okay. Now, what does it show? It shows that Shylock is always, attentive about Antonio. He has so much grudge against him that he keeps a note of every detail that where his ships are going. Even when nothing bad has happened or nothing as such opportunity had knocked at his door, he still knows what ventures are going where, which shows that he is very wise as a businessman. He had squandered abroad, but ships are but boards. Now see, there is a contrast basically. What are we told about Antonio? Antonio he was so overconfident that he had invested all his wealth on the ships and he had no ready cash. He was not, taking money seriously. On the contrary, Shylock thinks as a wise person and he says that these ships are always at risk. So you cannot always, depend upon these ships. So he says, but ships are but boards, means they're just planks of wood. They can be damaged. Sailors but men, and he's saying sailors are human beings and human beings can do mistakes. There be land rats and water rats. So there are different kind of dangers to these ships. There are some land rats, there are some water rats, water thieves and land thieves. So there are these kind of risks to these ships. I mean pirates, and then there is the peril of waters. He's saying there are some pirates, means the robbers at the sea. I mean pirates, and there is the peril of waters, means there is the risk from the waters also, because floods can occur, so many things can happen. Winds and rocks, so winds cannot be favorable for the movement of the ships. The rocks can collide against the ships can be basically damaged. The man is notwithstanding sufficient. But he says, however, the man is sufficient. He's considering that ships can be damaged. So maybe he will, get hold over Antonio someday or the other, or he will be able to quench his thirst for revenge. 3,000 ducats. I think I may take his bond. He says, well, he needs 3,000 ducats. So I will take this bond. I will sign this bond, keeping in view that this Antonio is going to be a surety. What are land and water rats? The rats that live on land are land rats, and the rats that live in water are water rats. So they can damage the ships. They can, just eat those. They can just damage the ship. They can damage even the cargo that is carried in the ship. So they can damage. They can cause damage. That is why they are dangerous. Bassanio, be assured you may. Bassanio says you should rest assured that you can trust the bond. Shylock, I will be assured I may. He says, I would like to be assured that I can trust you, and that I may be assured. In order to be assured, I will bethink me, means I am going to think over this offer. May I speak with Antonio? He says, can I talk to Antonio in person? Bassanio, if it pleases you to dine with us. If it pleases you to dine with us, he gives him an offer to have have dinner with us. Now from here we again come to know one thing. Antonio had bias against Jews, or we can say he had that, he disliked Jews. But Bassanio did not have any such, religious and cultural objections against any culture, be it Jews, be it Christians. He openly offers a Jew, that is Shylock, to dine with them. On the contrary, Antonio would never do that because he disliked Jews. So यहाँ से you've got that, one character trait for Bassanio's character sketch. It comes on the basis of Act 1, Scene 3. Shylock, yes, to smell pork. Now he is being, sarcastic. That yes, you want me to dine with you so that I can smell pork, which is otherwise, just prohibited to the community of Jews. To eat of the habitation which your prophet, the Nazarite, conjured the devil into. Now basically there is a story that once there was a madman. So his body was possessed by some evil spirit. What Jesus Christ did was, he commanded that evil spirit who had, just possessed that body of a madman to leave the madman's body and possess the body, or just go into the body of a pig. So he says, your prophet, the Nazarite, here the prophet Nazarite refers to this Jesus Christ, conjured means he ordered the devil into the soul of the devil to enter into the body of a pig. And you want me to smell the meat of that? I will buy with you. He says, I can do business with you, sell with you, talk with you, walk with you, and so following. He says, I'm ready to do anything with you, but I will not eat with you. But I cannot dine with you, drink with you, nor pray with you. So what are the three things he cannot do? Dine, drink, and pray with Christians. What news on the Rialto? Who is he comes here? Now he says, what is the news at the Rialto, and who is coming here right now? So now from here enter Antonio. Antonio also joins the scene. Just remember that. Bassanio. This is Signor Antonio. He says, and this dignified person Antonio has come. Shylock, aside. Now these dialogues which are said aside, or we can call them soliloquies. What are soliloquies? Soliloquies or monologues are the long dialogues which are narrated or said by the speakers, where the audience or the other characters are not expected to speak. It's a long narrative which tells about the feelings of the speaker individually. No insight from any character or from the audience is required. You should know what is the meaning of soliloquy or monologue. So this is a monologue or soliloquy where Shylock is talking to himself. Aside means himself. How like a fawning publican he looks. Fawning means somebody who tries to impress others or please others by his words. Publican is a term used for Roman tax collector, and we have certain words on our tongue when we want to just shun somebody, or we want to show somebody as less valuable, or we disregard somebody. So publican was a term in the mouths of Jew every now and then when they did not respect someone, or they were disgusted by someone or something. They used to call it publican, which literally means a tax collector, a Roman tax collector. So he calls Antonio a fawning, means a person who's trying to impress others, and he calls him a Roman tax collector. He looks like a Roman tax collector who's trying to impress other people. Just remember, fawning publican can be asked in the form of MCQs or in the form of subjective question also. I hate him for he is a Christian. He says, I hate this Antonio because he is a Christian. So this is the first reason he gives for hating Antonio. But more than this, he hates him for what reason? For that in low simplicity, in complete foolishness, he lends out money gratis. Gratis means without interest. He gives money to people without charging any interest, and brings down the rate of usance here with us in Venice. And he brings down the rate of usance, means rate of interest, with other money lenders in Venice. Basically, he hampers or harbors the process of money lending. If I can catch him upon the hip. They can ask you in MCQs the meaning of upon the hip. It was, a metaphor used for in wrestling when you have a leading position. Okay. So he says, if I can get hold of him someday, I will feed fat the ancient grudge I bear him. I will feed fat means I am going to satisfy the old grudge that I have against him. He hates our sacred nation. He hates our Jewish race, and he rails even there where merchants most do congregate. And he rails means he shows anger even there where means even at the Rialto where the merchants most do congregate, where the merchants meet to talk. On me my bargains and my well-won thrift. He congregates, basically he meets there, and they show their anger. Okay, he shows his anger and my well-won thrift. He shows his anger on my bargains, means on my business deals, and my well-won thrift means all my success, which he calls interest. And he calls the success, the way I have earned money, as success, means as calls him interest means he calls it profit. Cursed be my tribe if I forgive him. May my tribe be cursed if I forgive you. Shylock. Do you hear? Bassanio says this, that Shylock, are you listening? Why he says so? Because for now Shylock was talking to his own self, that why he hates Antonio for being a Christian and then lending money without charging interest, and then showing anger towards him when they are at Rialto, and he just mocks or dislikes Shylock's way of earning profits. All this is very important. You should know all these 4 reasons he is given for hating Antonio. Shylock, I am debating of my present store. He's saying I am calculating. He says that I'm just trying to calculate that what amount of money I have right now, what ready cash I have, and by the near guess of my memory. He says if I guess that how much money I have, I cannot instantly raise up the gross. He says I cannot give you instantly the required amount of money of full 3,000 ducats. Of what that? But he says that does not matter. Tubal, a wealthy Hebrew. Tubal is a very dear friend of Shylock. He says he's another wealthy Hebrew is a term for Jews. Of my tribe will furnish me. He will lend me money. But soft, he says, but wait. How many months do you desire? He says, but for how many months do you need money? To Antonio. He's asking to Antonio. Rest your fate, good Signor. Means just greetings to you, good Signor. Your worship was the last man in our mouths. Means you, the honorable person, was the last person we had been talking about. Antonio. Shylock, albeit. Albeit means although. He says, although I neither lend nor borrow. Means I neither give money nor borrow money. Okay. But by taking nor by giving of excess. Means I neither take money by giving interest, or neither I give money by paying interest to somebody, yet to supply the right wants of my friend. But in order to satisfy or just help my friend the required amount, give the required amount to him, I'll break a custom. I'll break the normal habit. Again, what does it show about Antonio's personality? He's a dear friend. He can do anything for the extent of his friendship, for the sake of his friendship. He was ready to give up his normal behavior or habitual behavior of neither giving money nor taking money on interest for the sake of his love for Bassanio, his dear friend. To Antonio, is he yet possessed? How much ye would? He says, have you informed him that how much money you need? Shylock, 3,000 ducats. He says, yes, I have told him that I need 3,000 ducats. Antonio, and for 3 months? Antonio says, and that is required for 3 months. Now, here you can write a note for the character sketch of Antonio, that he is a true friend of Bassanio. Okay. He shows immense generosity. Then you can write he was careless towards money, because he said that he had no ready cash, right? He was ignorant and he didn't plan and plot for the money. Then we can say he was narrow-minded and callous, Callous, in his treatment towards the Jews. And how will you justify that? Because when later in the scene, Shylock is going to confront him that you have done so many atrocities towards me, he would say that he will continue to do so. So that is why we are saying that he was callous in his behavior towards the Jews and he was intolerant towards them. But he is an admirable friend. That also you have to mention. Then, Shylock, I had forgot 3000th month, you told me so. He says, yeah, you mentioned, but I forgot. Well then, you're born and let me see, but hear you. He says, well then, I'll see to this born, but listen to me. Me thought you said you neither lend nor borrow upon advantage. But he said, but you mentioned, Antonio, that you neither take money nor borrow money on interest on taking advantage. Antonio, I do neither use it. He says, yes, I have never done that before. Shylock. Now this is very important, this entire page. Why? Because Shylock, in order to justify his act of interest, charging interest, he is going to mention the story of Jacob. First of all, he says when Jacob grazed his uncle Laban's sheep. He wanted to say this, that when Jacob, who is, one of the Jews only, he used to graze the sheep of Uncle Laban. Remember, when you write sheep in plural, it remains sheep. Don't write sheep. It's a common error. But he interrupts himself. Before completing it, he says something else. Because he knows that Antonio is not a Jew or Bassanio is not a Jew, so he feels that it is important to tell them that who is Jacob. So he stops the story and explains. This Jacob from our holy Abraham was. Means he was the son of holy Abraham, the grandson I would say, okay, of holy Abraham. Abraham was the founder of Jewish race, okay. His son was Isaac, and Isaac further had two sons, Esau and Jacob. So, as his wise mother wrought in his behalf. So, his wise mother means Jacob's mother planned and plotted so that Jacob gets the wealth and not his elder brother Esau. Ideally, from Abraham, the wealth would go to Isaac. From Isaac, it should go to Esau, right? Because he was the elder son. But it goes to Jacob because his mother planned. This Isaac was blind. So when he was on his deathbed, he decided that he's going to give his wealth to Esau. Okay. So he commanded Esau to go outside and bring some lavish food for him. Now, this was heard by Jacob's mother, and what she did was, when Esau went out to fetch food, Jacob's mother cooked some delicious food and she gave it to Jacob to give it to the father. Father, because he was blind, he could not see it was Esau, and he handed over the entire wealth to Jacob. This is how the mother planned and plotted. The third possessor, he says, he emphasizes that Jacob was the third possessor. He was the third. So he highlights that he should not have got the wealth, but still because of planning and plotting, he got it. Basically, he thinks that interest is also like planning and plotting and getting advantage, just like Jacob did, and he finds it fine. But Antonio thinks the other way. Antonio, and what of him? Did he take interest? He says, why are you mentioning him? Did he also take interest? Shylock, no, not take interest. Not as you would say. He says, no, he didn't take interest, not as you understand. Directly interest. Mark what Jacob did. He says, just listen what Jacob did. When Laban and himself were comprised, that all the evenings which were streaked in pied should fall as Jacob's heir. He says that Jacob and Uncle Laban, they signed a bond, okay, or they just agreed upon the point that whichever evenings, means the young ones of the sheep were born, which had either stripes or spots on their body, that would become the wealth of Jacob. They would no more be the wealth of Uncle Laban. This was a way to thrive. Now this, he says, this was the way to thrive, means to succeed in life for Jacob. This is how he became successful. And he was blessed. And he was blessed means he was fortunate in this matter. thrift is blessing. Now he says making profit is a blessing if men steal it not. So he says if you are earning profits by not stealing money, then it is a blessing for you. So basically Shylock mentions this Jacob's story of all the Inlings born with spots or stripes as his wealth to justify that taking interest is also similar, that you are just planning and plotting to get money. Antonio, this was a venture, sir, that Jacob served for. The story was, just remember, in order to get all the Inglings, having stripes or spots on them, what Jacob had done was he had put some planks over the sheep when they were pregnant, so that the shadow of them falls on the womb of the sheep and all the children are born striped. And Shylock thinks that this was how he earned profits, but Antonio corrects him. Antonio says that Jacob, by putting those planks, could not control that how the children or the offsprings of the sheep would be born. It was just conspired by God, because Jacob got a reward for his service that he did to Uncle Laban. This was a venture, sir. He says that it is a good fortune, sir, that Jacob served for. That Jacob got a good luck because the service that he had done to Uncle Laban. A thing not in his power to bring to pass. He says it was something which Jacob could not control. How the child would be born could not be controlled by Jacob, but swayed and fashioned by the hand of heaven. He says it was God who had planned and made the children be born with stripes and spots. Was this inserted to make interest good? Now he says, did you introduce this entire story to justify your act of charging interest? Or is your gold and silver ewes and rams? Or he says, is your gold and silver coins like ewes? Ewes means the female sheep and rams mean the male sheep. Basically he's saying that is your money like something which reciprocates, or basically it reproduces. Shylock, I cannot tell. I make it breed as fast. He says, I cannot tell whether they are ewes or rams, but I can tell you that I make them reproduce as fast as ewes and rams reproduce. But note me, Signor. He says, but listen to me, sir. Antonio, mark you this, Bassanio. Antonio says, just listen to this, Bassanio. This is very important. The devil can cite scripture for his purpose. He says the devils can quote things from the scriptures. Here he is calling Shylock as devil, who is trying to quote from the scriptures to justify his act of charging interest. An evil soul producing holy witness means he is an evil man who is producing holy arguments to justify his act. Is like a villain, and he's saying such people are like villains. Villain spelling you should know. With a smiling cheek. With a smiling cheek means who have a smile on their cheeks. Means the outside they look very nice, but they are rotten from inside. A goodly apple means attractive apple, rotten at the heart, which is very much decomposed or bad or putrid at the heart. Oh, what a goodly outside falsehood had. What a good appearance the deceit means the wrong things, or the falsehood means deceit have. Things look good outside, but they are rotten from inside. Shylock, 3,000 ducats. 'Tis a good round sum. Shylock says you need 3,000 ducats. It is a huge amount of money. 3 months from 12, when you need it for 3 months out of 12 months in a year. Then let me see the rate. He says, let me think about it. Well, Shylock, shall we be holding to you? Means, will you lend us money or not? Shylock. Now, this is very important dialogue. Take note of it. Signor Antonio, many a time and oft means most of the times and often in the Rialto means at the Venetian Stock Exchange, you have rated me about my monies. Rated me means you have abused me because of my monies, because of my money deals, okay, and my usances, my way of charging interest. Still, have I borne it? Borne here means I have tolerated it with a patient struggle, in a very patient manner. For sufferance is the badge of all our tribe, because Suffering is the badge, means it is the identity, or it is something for which we Jews are known. You call me, number one, he says you call me misbeliever, means someone who doesn't believe in Christ or God. Cutthroat dog, cutthroat means hard-hearted dog. And spit on my Jewish garbadine. And you have always spat on my Jewish attire or clothes or robe. And for all use of that which is mine own. And you've done all this for the way I have utilized something that belongs to me. Well then, it now appears you need my help. He says, but now it seems that you are in need of my help. Go to then. He says, go ahead then. You come to me and say, means you have come to me and now you're saying, Shylock, we would have monies, that we need money from you. You say so. You that did void your rheum upon my beard, means you had spat your spit upon my beard. You spat on my beard basically. And foot me as you spurn a strange cur, and you've kicked me at times like somebody kicks a street dog over your threshold, and that also outside your house, in the public places. Money is your suit. Now he says you are expecting money from me now. What should I say to you? He says, what do you want from me now? Should I not say, hath a dog money? He says, should I not tell you that? How can a dog have money? Is it possible a car can lend 3,000 ducats? Is it possible for a dog to lend 3,000 ducats? Or shall I bend low? Means should I bend in front of you? And in a bondsman key and in a slavish tone, with bated breath, means with a very timid breath, with very soft breath, and whispering humbleness in very soft tone, should I say, Fear sir, now he is being sarcastic, that noble sir, you spit on me last Wednesday, that you had spat on my clothes last Wednesday. You spawned me such a day, you kicked and pushed me on such similar day. Another time you called me dog, and some other day you had called me a dog, and for these courtesies, for these acts of so-called kindness, I'll lend you this much money. I will give you all this money for all the acts of kindness that you've done towards me. Antonio, see, now this is the only dialogue where we feel sympathetic for Shylock because of the harsh treatment that he has got from Antonio. Now Antonio says, I am as like to call thee so again. Now see, why I said that he's callous and he is very cold towards Jews, because even when Shylock is telling him that he has done such bad and harsh treatment towards him, Antonio says, I'll call thee so again. Means I'm likely to call you like this again. To spit on thee again, I'll spit on you again. To spurn on thee again, I'll push you aside again. If thou wilt lend this money. He says, if you are going to lend me this money, lend it not to as thy friends. He says, do not give it as if you're giving it to your friend. For when did friendship take a breed for barren metal of this kind? He says, lend it to me as if you're lending it to an enemy. Because from when did friends start taking, increase in return or start taking interest for breed for barren? Means when did they, breed for barren means when did they start charging interest? For barren metal. Barren metal refers to money. Money which cannot reproduce. Metal of his friend when they lend it to their friends. But lend it rather to thine enemy. Lend it to your enemies. Who, if he break, so that if I break this bond, thou mayst with better face exact the penalty. Means without any guilt you can charge the penalty that you mentioned. Shylock, you. He says, look at you. How you storm, how you have been, showing anger, how you're losing your temper. I would be friends with you and you have your love. He says, I would like to be your friend and win your love. Forget the shames that you have stained me with. Forget all the shames, means all the atrocities you have done to me. Supply your present wants. He says, I will supply you with the money you want and take no doit. And he says, I will not charge a single rate of money of interest, of usance for my monies. Means I will not charge any interest. And you will not hear me. Means you will not hear me means you will not have to listen to me anything regarding this. This is kind I offer. Now he says this is kind I offer. Here this is very important to know. Kind has two meanings. Kind means this is the kind of offer that I wish to give you, and second kind means this is the kind of thing I want to return to you. Why? Kind means you had done atrocities to me. I will return the same kind to you. This is very important. Okay. Kind's meaning. Then Bassanio. This were kindness. He says it is indeed very kind of you, Shylock. This kindness will I show. He's saying I will show this kindness if go with me to a notary. Notary means if you go to meet the court. This notary is a special department where these legal documents are signed. If you come with me to the notary, seal me there. Seal me there means you sign a bond with me there. Your single bond. Your single bond means you are alone the surety there. You are the only person who stand as a surety. And in a merry sport. In a merry sport means in a pleasant joke. If you repay me not on such a day, means if you do not repay the money on specific date, in such a place at a specific place, such sum or sums as are expressed in the condition. The amount that we are mentioning in this bond, that is 3,000 ducats, if you don't pay me back, let the forfeit. Let the forfeit means let the penalty be nominated. Be that for an equal pound of your fair flesh, that I will get 1 pound. Equal means exact 1 pound of your fair means clear flesh to be cut off, to be just exacted and taken in what part of your body pleaseth me. Means I can exact then 1 pound of flesh from your any body part that I wish to take it from. Important, what was the condition of the bond? Important dialogue this is. Antonio, content, he says I'm satisfied. I faith. I faith means I agree. I'll seal to such a bond. He says I'm ready to sign such a bond and say there is much kindness in the Jew. He says, and for this I will say that you are very kind Jew. Bassanio, you shall not seal to such a bond for me. Now Bassanio, from here we come to know about Bassanio, that although he, wanted to live a lavish life and he was a spendthrift, but he was concerned for his friend and he tells him that you should not sign such a bond for my sake. You shall not seal to such a bond for me. I'll rather dwell in my necessity. He says, I will rather continue to live with the need of money that I have right now. Antonio, why fear not, man? I will not forfeit it. Antonio says, do not worry, my friend. I will not lose the bond. Within these 2 months, he says, within 2 months I will. That's a month before this bond expires. Means in 2 months my ships would come back, which means 1 month before the condition written in the bond. I do expect return of thrice 3 times. He says I will get 9 times the profit, the value of this bond that is mentioned in this bond. Shylock. Important dialogue. Now see how Shylock is a very clever businessman. He is going to trick Antonio to believe that he is just in his dealings. He says, oh Father Abraham, I told you he is the ancestor or he is the father of the Jewish tribe. He says, oh Father Abraham, what these Christians are, means what kind of people these Christians are, whose own hard dealings teaches them suspect, means their own harsh, unjust dealings of business tells them to suspect, means doubt the thought of others, the feelings of others. Pray you tell me this. He says, I request you, tell me this. If he should break this day, means if he fails to pay the payment, what should I gain by the exaction of the forfeiture? He says, what will I get by exacting that 1 pound of flesh from his body? Basically what he'll get, he'll be able to quench his thirst for revenge. But he says that it is not going to earn me anything in money. A pound of flesh, a pound of man's flesh taken from a man is not so estimable, profitable neither. He says the pound of flesh taken from human body, once it is taken out, it is not valuable at all. It is not valuable or profitable as flesh of muttons, beefs or goats. Means it is not even equal in value to the flesh of mutton, beef or pork, which can be sold as meat. Human flesh nobody is going to buy. I say to buy this favor. He says, I am doing this to buy this favor, means to get your friendship. I extend this friendship. He says, I am doing this favor to you by charging no interest on the money I lend to get your friendship. If he will take it, so he's saying if you accept it, that is very good. If not, adieu means farewell. So, and for my love, I pray you wrong me not. He says, but do not be unjust to me by doubting the love that I have been showing to you. Antonio, yes, Shylock, I will seal unto this bond. He says, I will seal this bond. Now see how beautifully, not beautifully, but cleverly he has managed to manipulate Bassanio and Antonio to sign the bond. Shylock, then meet me forthwith at the notary's. He says, meet me soon at the notary. I told you it's a office where the legal documents are signed. Give him direction for this merry bond. He says, go and tell the officer there to sign this merry bond, means to just modulate this humorous bond. And I will go and purse the ducats straight. I will go and bring the ducats that you need soon. And I will go and purse the ducats straight. See to my house. He says, I will look after my house also, left in the fearful guard, which I have left in the fearful guard. Fearful guard means unsafe hands or care of an unthrifty knave. What were the words used for Lancelot? Unthrifty knave. Unthrifty knave means irresponsible servant, that is Lancelot Gobbo. And presently I'll be with you. And presently means soon I'll be with you. Antonio, hey thee, gentle Jew. Antonio says, be quick, merciful Jew. Exit Shylock. He goes. The Hebrew will turn Christian. Antonio says that this Hebrew, this Jew is going to become a Christian. He grows kind because he has been showing kindness. Basically for Antonio, the Jews are hard-hearted. They don't have that feeling of kindness in them. So he says because now he's showing kindness, maybe he'll turn into a Christian. Bassanio, I like not fair terms and a villain's mind. He says, I do not believe the kind words offered by a villainish person or villain person like Shylock. Antonio, come on. In this there can be no dismay. He says, come on, there cannot be any dismay, means reason to feel fearful. My ships come home a month before the day, because he says my ships are going to return a month before the day that I have to pay the 3,000 ducats. So this is all about Act 1, Scene 3. You can write a few notes, like the character sketch of Shylock is important, that he is shown to be crafty. He is, why crafty? Because he is able to manipulate Antonio and Bassanio to sign the bond. He wants to quench his thirst for revenge, but he manages to make them believe that he's going to earn nothing from it. Then he's cruel, he's shrewd, he's cunning, any word you can use. He seeks vengeance. Vengeance means he feels that feeling of revenge in his heart, and he knows that when he has to rage and when he has to befriend a certain person, right? Because he knows when he wants to show anger to Antonio, when he wants to just conceal it by saying that I am just extending a hand of friendship. That is all I have to tell from this scene. If you have any doubts, please ask. Please ask if you have any doubts. Write yes or no if doubts are there, else we can disconnect, children. Alright, that's it then. If there are no doubts, we can disconnect. Thank you.